Hello and welcome to the Erieli Knits YouTube channel. This is our interview series in which we interview different makers, designers, artists, and shop owners to build a stronger and more inclusive community. I'm Riley, and today I have Sam at Potager Knits on Instagram here with me. Sam is a knitter, crocheter, spinner, general crafter, gardener, and seed collector, and knitting podcaster. Sam, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into knitting, spinning, crocheting, etc.? Like, what was the moment you fell in love with your craft and things like that?
Sure. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Yeah,
so my name is Sam. I live in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania with my wife and my two cats. I started knitting when I was in third grade because one of my best friends taught me at a sleepover. Like, we were sitting across from each other on a couch. She showed me. And she lent me some supplies. I accidentally broke her circular needles. So I actually finished my first project on colored pencils, like really well sharpened colored pencils. And I picked up crochet as a teenager because I kind of liked how fast that you could finish things. And then I actually learned how to spin a couple years ago. My like craftiness kind of came in waves over those years, but I was always kind of searching for like what my thing was. Like some people are like musicians or actors or writers or whatever. And I only really realized that my thing was crafting a few years ago, so I've been kind of all in ever since.
Yeah, I love that. I can't believe, breaking circular needles. Were they wooden needles?
Yeah, I think they were like the clover bamboo ones.
Yeah, those ones. Those break so easily.
They do. It was, and when you're first starting to knit, you're like really like tense and, and so I snapped them.
Yeah. That's really cool that you finished your first project on colored pencils, though.
Yeah.
That's cool. So how do you feel your experience, other than what you said, has been unique or special to you?
So since I started out so young, I got a lot of like the frustrating part of learning these crafts out of the way like a while ago. So I think that kind of made me less afraid to try new techniques because I already had really like gotten over the really difficult hurdles.
Yeah.
I also kind of joke that I was a young knitter before it was cool because I was a literal child. So I had some unique experiences trying to like find my place in the knitting community. So it just kind of makes me more thankful for the community that I've been able to find in recent years.
Yeah, for sure. It's also interesting because a lot of times people are like, oh, I learned from a parent or a grandparent, but you learned from a friend who was your age. Like,
yeah. Well, her family was
cool.
super crafty. Like, her grandmother made all of her Halloween costumes and stuff.
Wow.
So cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about how you got into doing a knitting podcast from, like your crafting, and then what made you want to do the knitting podcast?
Sure. So when I kind of discovered the like Instagram knitting community, I also at the same time discovered knitting podcasts. And I just really love listening to other people talk about their craft and just like kindred spirits talking about their lives. So I really wanted to be a part of that. And I also wanted something that would kind of motivate me to keep making progress on my whips. So what better way than airing it publicly?
It's true, because then you have content if you finish things.
Exactly.
Yes. So what are some of your favorite podcasts that you listen to?
I really, really like the Stranded podcast. And it's funny because like I can gauge how much I watch a podcast by whether my wife knows the people that host the podcast. So she's like, man, I really like Amy. And I also really like the Fat Squirrel podcast. Yeah, it's great. And Knitting My Shit Together.
Awesome. And we can link to those down below as well as to yours because
they're great.
It's always fun to find more.
Yeah, sure.
So when can we expect your next podcast episode?
So I've been trying to do one at least once a month. I just released one on the 28th of August, and so probably in about a month, maybe earlier, depending on how much progress I make on my whips.
Yeah. Speaking of your last podcast, I actually just watched it last night, and I think you've mentioned it in previous episodes, but it reminded me, like, I can't believe that you made yours and Becca's wedding bands and, like, her replacement engagement ring now. So that's amazing. How did you get into doing that?
I'm the kind of person who likes to get my hands into everything. So since
Mm-hmm.
we had like a very weird limited wedding, it was a surprise Halloween party. I think I talked about that in one of my episodes. I wanted to like try to find something a little more traditional that I could just make so it felt even more special since we weren't having some big like extravagant wedding. So yeah, there's a guild in the area called the Pennsylvania Guild of Craftsmen. It's about 40 minutes from my house. And when I saw that they had ring making classes, I was like, this is perfect. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool. It guided me through making them, and now I've done it twice and I feel like I'm kind of an expert now. No,
That's awesome. That's amazing. So do you have the tools to do that like at your home, or do you go to the guild to make them?
yeah, I have to make them at the guild because it requires like soldering and stuff.
Oh,
But I have been looking into the supplies to see how much it would cost to
yeah.
kind of get a little set up. So yeah.
Well, your rings are gorgeous. If you guys want to see the
Thank you.
rings, Sam shows them on her latest podcast episode, and they're gorgeous. Um,
Thanks.
so is there anything that you're currently working on or participating in that you're really excited about?
Yeah, so I'm trying to plan some like other videos other than just podcast episodes because I just really like making videos in general. So we're planning on doing, my wife and I are doing a 24-hour readathon. We're gonna like film ourselves reading books for 24 hours just for fun, you know, something
Yeah.
different to do. And I think I'm also gonna do Vlogoween. And then I'm also scheming a possible like ornament, like holiday decoration craft along for like November through December. Since like I have a thing where I make an ornament so that I can put a handmade ornament on my tree every day leading up to Christmas. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of like share that with other people. So
I
that's
love
coming
that.
up.
So do you do new ornaments every single year to do that?
Yeah, I've done it 2 or 3 years now. Yeah, so that's kind of a recent thing, but
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. So, kind of shifting gears a little bit and getting into like the gardening and seed collecting type stuff. How does one get into seed collecting?
For me, I live in a 1 bedroom apartment. So like last year when I started really getting into like learning about gardening, I didn't really have any place to do it except for like in pots on my balcony.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of remedied that by just buying all the seeds at the end of like the season last year and just organizing them and like dreaming about, you know, the sheer potential of having all of these plants eventually. So
Yeah.
thankfully this year I have a community garden space, so I was able to use a lot, but I still have a pretty sizable collection.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, what type of things are your favorite to grow?
Anything easy that doesn't require too much, because I mean I go there every Saturday or Sunday. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'll spend a few hours there working on things, but during the week because of work I don't tend to go out there that much, so I just kind of pray for rain. So like stuff like peas and beans that just kind of like shoot up real quick and they kind of
Yeah.
keep going, that's the kind of stuff that I like to grow.
Oh, fresh peas from the garden. Those are so good.
So good. And kale. I've been growing a lot of
Really?
kale because I like to make kale chips. Oh, so good.
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some foods, like, you can't really tell the difference between, like, from your own home garden and from the store, but peas,
Yeah.
that's
It's
one
a
that,
big difference. They're
yeah,
a little bit sweeter when you grow them yourself, when
yeah.
they're not sitting around as well.
That sounds so good right now. I wish I could just come take some of your peas, but
Yeah.
you're a little bit too far away.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you want to talk about or share, or?
I mean, I couldn't really think of much, but like I am just really excited for autumn. Like I am such a fall person, like a cold weather person, which I mean that kind of goes with knitting
Yeah,
because a lot of the stuff
same.
that I make I can't wear right now. It's been so hot this summer, so I'm just ready for it to like cool down so I can like go on hikes, be outside more. So and like I live in Pennsylvania and the autumn leaves here are just breathtaking. So
Oh.
I'm really hoping we have like a really good autumn this year.
I would love to see some pictures, like, in your stories or something when autumn hits.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I definitely will because I want to go on so many hikes. I need to get out of the house.
yeah. Right? But it's been so hot. Like, this
It's been
summer's
too hot,
been
yeah.
really, really hot over here as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, it's been rough.
So, yeah, I'm an autumn person as well. I love, like, autumn scented candles, like,
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes.
Halloween
Anything like
movies.
spiced. Yes, Halloween, everything.
Yes.
I already saw like all the craft decorations coming up in the like the Halloween decorations in the craft
Yeah.
stores, and it's just I want to buy everything. I just want my house to look like Halloween all the time.
Yes. No, I love that you had a surprise Halloween wedding too. Like, that's so cool.
It was so us too. And it was funny because like the day that it was the day after I had just like switched jobs. So like I had this like really late night because my last job I used to have to work on Friday nights. And then I like woke up early the next morning to prepare for this like really involved surprise party.
Yes.
For my friends. Surprise, we're actually married. Yeah.
I love that so much. Like, surprise, this is our wedding.
Yeah. And we married ourselves too. Like, we didn't have an officiant or anything. We just like signed the papers and it was done. So
that's awesome. Cool. That's so cool. That's amazing. Yeah, I loved watching, because actually your podcast is actually one of the first that I started watching.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I just,
that's so cool.
I love it so much. So I remember watching last year when like, didn't you have Becca? Like, wasn't she there talking about that with you?
Yeah, we did like an anniversary episode where it was just like the two of us like talking about stuff. Yeah. It was a lot of fun to film.
Loved that. I would recommend anybody go and watch that because it was really fun.
Thank you.
But how are you finding joy right now?
So like other than the obvious like crafting and gardening, like all the stuff that I do on a normal basis, I just really enjoy like witnessing weird moments that other people have, like especially things that they don't think other people saw.
Yeah.
Like, you know, now we're limiting trips to like stores and things. I just appreciate like running into these little moments, like catching someone dancing in an aisle in a store, or like seeing a kid skipping away with their ice cream, or, you know, just like people being people. Like witnessing other people's joy brings me joy.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. So like, I don't know, when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, like I love that.
I just really like people. Like I'm generally a pretty quiet person, even though like I can talk like this pretty exuberantly. Like I'm a pretty quiet, like shy, reserved person. So I am kind of like a people watcher, I guess.
Yeah.
And I just enjoy other people being themselves.
Yeah. No, it's really fun, the things that you can catch when you people watch.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. So, yeah, but Sam, thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with me and be featured on the channel. Like, this was a lot of fun.
I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, everyone, you can find Sam online on Instagram and YouTube at Potager Knits. I'll link to her Instagram down below, as well as her handle will be written out in the display. What's it called? The overlay?
Sure.
Overlay. But you can find those links as well as any other links we've promised down below in the description box. But thank you all for joining us. Now go out there and craft your world. Bye.